G'day golfers, I'm Glen Haynes. Well, here at Monash we were recently treated to watching Cam Davis, PGA Tour winner, play on our golf course. Now, he was joined by Ewan Porter, former tour player and TV commentator, and two very lucky young golfers. This was all Ewan's doing. He invited Cam and these two young golfers so that they had the opportunity to pick the brains of a couple of tour players, to learn about life on the tour, and obviously to watch them play some great golf. So these two young golfers, they play on the Adidas Junior Sixes Tour, of which Ewan Porter is a founder and ambassador for. So we're going to look at Cam Davis' swing in slow motion later. It really is a thing of beauty. But earlier this week, I caught up with Ewan to find out more about how he set this up and to find more about the Adidas Junior Sixes Tour, which is relatively new. This is Aussie Golf Pros. Thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it this morning. Realise that
no problems at all.
You're a busy man now that you're in the networks and broadcasting and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, that's all right. I'm just up on. I'm actually on holidays at the moment up in Yamba, but
nice.
Going to do some family stuff in about 20 minutes, and then we've got our first Junior Sixes event of the season next week at Liverpool. So I'm actually now I'm trying to organise a few things with regards to practice rounds for that. So it never stops, really.
It's come a long way in just 3 years, considering COVID and all that sort of jazz. You must be really proud of it.
It was basically a blessing in disguise. I was all set to move back to New York in March 2020, and then that didn't happen. I was single at the time, so I ended up spending 6 months at Mum's place on the Sunshine Coast, and it gave me an opportunity to, I guess, really expand what I was doing with the Junior Sixes, because when it came to life in 2019, it was just a 2-day event at Cronulla Golf Club where I grew up in Sydney.
Yeah.
And, you know, there were plenty of playing opportunities that came from it. I think there were 4 tour exemptions on offer there. But rather than just have a tournament, I wanted to do something that was different, but also, you know, the main thing was to create pathways and opportunities that weren't there. And, you know, without naming golf associations or bodies, there was a huge gap in the market for that.
Yes.
And I was able to leverage my connections with the tour and the WPGA Tour to do that. And obviously there were many obstacles and forks in the road with COVID, but you know, thankfully we pushed through. We pushed through in Queensland in 2020 because that was still pretty open, and then when the other states opened up, you know, we held events in New South Wales and Victoria. Then we went back into lockdown for 6 months, but then that gave me an opportunity to figure out how I could expand globally, which now we've got events in New Zealand and India and a partnership in Dubai. And,
really?
You know, the 3 to 5.
Fantastic, yeah.
Yeah, the 3 to 5 year goal is to really expand it in that Asian Middle East region.
And based on location, Aussies really need that pathway, don't they? I mean, you've travelled to America and played a lot of your golf. I went to Europe to play when I was trying to make it out on tour, and it's tough for the Aussies. We have to travel so much, and it's a tough world out there.
It is. I mean, we're geographically challenged, as you said, when it comes to playing golf, and it's the same at every level. I think you should be able to. I think every event in Australia, whether it's an amateur level, junior level, pro level, there should be a pathway of some description to playing overseas, because we've got all the talent in the world. But it's so much easier if you've got so many satellite tours in Europe and the US that can act as pathways into Corn Ferry or Challenge Tour or whatever it is. We don't necessarily have that unless you're top 2 or something on the money list.
Exactly,
Just doing my best there.
And we have the talent, and we've so many great golfers in Australia. It's but you know, it's not a lot of money. There aren't a huge number of big events to play in Australia. So good on you for setting up that pathway, and I hope it goes from strength to strength for you.
Yeah, thanks, Glenn. Yeah, I mean, we're getting better. The tour's getting better at creating pathways for our players, which is good. All the events are televised now. There's more money to play for. To be honest, there's never been a better time to be a pro golfer globally, with all the opportunities. But yeah, I mean, from junior and amateur level, if I can create opportunities that will help them sort of expedite and fast track their progress, then I'm doing my job.
Do you miss playing at all? Well, you still get out there and obviously you were up at Monash at my club just last week, and you seem to still strike some good shots, and Do you miss the competitive aspect?
I love playing. I don't miss the tour life. What's involved with tour. I love traveling, but I don't miss what's involved with playing on a week-to-week basis, which, as you know, is if you're making the cut, it's 6 out of 7 days is playing and practicing and grinding, and then the other day is travel day, which is an all-day affair. I just don't miss that, and I haven't practiced properly for about 3 or 4, maybe even longer years now, and that's even one practice session. I might go and hit 30 balls at a driving range, but I haven't practiced properly in years. I can still hit it fine. My short game is pretty rusty. It's very, very hit or miss. I don't have the confidence around the greens I once did, simply due to a lack of practice. But
of course,
I love the fact that I love playing. A lot of my friends that walk away from the tour hate golf now and don't want a bar of it.
Right.
And, golf gave me so many opportunities and gives us so many opportunities, regardless of whether you played on tour, taught overseas, whatever you did, you were bound to have come across people from all walks of life that you've remained friends with. And I'm glad I've been able to hang on to those relationships and still love playing the game. And you never say never to anything. Like, I'd consider myself very, very fit for a 40-year-old, and the fact I can still, play well is nice. But I've got too many other things going on now to, seriously consider a return to playing. Yeah. And making cameos is not great either, because you need to prepare properly, and I just don't really have time to do that.
No, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about last week. You had a game over here at Monash with Cameron Davis, who is still a member at Monash, and you invited 2 young up-and-coming players. Tell us about those 2.
Yeah, so I got in touch with Cam a couple of months ago. I mean, I know Cam fairly well. I know his caddy, Andrew Shooten, really well, and his coach, Khan Pullen, really well. I've known them for 25 years.
Okay.
And I just reached out to Cam to see if he'd be interested when he's home in playing with a couple of our kids, just to create another great experience. Yeah. Earlier this year, I put up a prize where one of our Junior Sixes players, they're the sort of experiences that I wanted to create outside of just simply the winners getting tour exemptions. I also wanted to create something for everyone, because the best players win those tour exemptions, but I wanted everyone to feel like they had an opportunity to win something as well, to win something cool as well. And the fact that Emily, who played last week from Bonnie-Doon, she's 14 years old. I think she plays off about a 6 or a 7 handicap. And Daly Lumanis is a great player. He just finished runner-up in the Dunes medal. I think he was in the state junior team, but he hasn't quite taken advantage of winning something just yet. But he's a great kid, and I just wanted 2 good kids, 1 boy, 1 girl, to have the opportunity to play with Cam, who were really going to revel in the experience. So basically what I did was I made the juniors send a 30-second video to me of why they thought they deserved to play with Cam, and we had some funny entries, and they were all good. We could have picked a whole array of kids, but I felt like Emily has a wonderful personality, and so does Daly. And in addition to that, Cam was, as you saw, Cam didn't play his best that day, but he was terrific with the kids all day long, and not just those 2 kids, the other kids that walked around, and
the big kids.
He was, and the big kids. Yeah, he was terrific. I mean, I loved it. Yeah. I didn't know there was going to be anyone watching, and the fact there was 100 people watching on the first tee, all of a sudden I got butterflies and pretty much had them all day. But it was wonderful, and I hope to be able to do more of that.
Good. So it's a great initiative. I really enjoyed watching it and seeing you guys hit the ball so well up close. And all right, so Cam didn't get to the hole too often, but he hit some beautiful shots. And so a little birdie told me that you shot 4 under with a borrowed set of clubs. Is that true?
Well, they were my clubs. Yeah, I may or may not have beaten Cam by 8 shots that day. They're my clubs, but my 3-wood is at my mum's place in Queensland. So I had a Bridgestone J's 3-wood from about 1990 in the bag. I've lost both my pitching wedge and my 6-iron. Don't ask me where or how. So I didn't carry a 6-iron at all, and my wedge is a Honma Blade 10-iron from the 1980s.
That is a hodgepodge.
So I had 13 clubs in the bag, 2 of which were retro clubs. But it was. I actually played pretty well. I hit one horrendous drive off the 11th, which is probably the worst shot I've ever hit. But overall, I played nicely. My iron play was actually probably the best it's ever been that day.
Awesome. And how did you find the course?
Great. Greens were, well, I don't know if you watched from the very first hole, but it took us all only one hole to figure out that Monash's greens were quite severe. I mean, I made the best shot of my life into the first. I hit a 4-iron to 2 feet, 2.5 feet, and I had to start the putt outside the right edge, and I missed it left of the cup.
Yeah, I can believe it.
and we all missed short putts. Daly 4-putted the first. Cameron missed about a 4-footer. It was.
It's a welcome to Monash green, isn't it? The first green. It's a brilliant. Yeah. All right. So junior sixes from here. Obviously, you've got a great format. Tell us a little bit about your format of your sixes tournaments that the kids are playing.
Well, every event except for the one at the Australian will be a World Amateur Golf Ranking event, which means they're all 54 holes. The Australian's 36 holes. Okay. They're all 54 holes, and then at the end of the 54, the top boy and the top girl play a 6-hole knockout match against one another. We also have for the first time this year, we have a Future Sixes category as well, which is for 19 to 25-year-olds. And it's a points race for the whole season. So you get points based on where you finish in the stroke play. You get bonus points for making the Super Sixes knockout. There's various prizes involved. The winner of the Super Sixes at each event in that Future Sixes category gets $1,000 every event, because they're allowed to earn up to $1,350 now.
Okay.
And then at the end of the year, there'll be various tour exemptions on offer. The winning male and female from that Future Sixes category will have a Q School entry fee paid for if they choose to take that pathway.
Australian Tour School?
No, International Q School.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah, so, it's like it's no skin off our nose. It's an opportunity that we want to provide, but for the kids, I mean, that's the fact that you could have $2 or $3 grand paid, like an entry fee paid for to that amount. Yeah, that could be life changing. Because I know when I was starting out, I couldn't afford that entry fee. I had to ask
They're expensive.
Mum, so,
yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be a great season, and everyone's really bought into the format as well. The fact that they've got 14 extra World Amateur ranking events to improve their world rankings is huge throughout the year. And, the fact they've got all these tour exemptions to play for is it's something that's not readily available elsewhere.
That's an amazing difference from when I was playing the amateur circuit. And, just trying to... basically, we called it the Tea-Towel Tour. We weren't playing for a lot. Yeah. We obviously, paying all of our travel costs and accommodation and sleeping in cars and vans and all that sort of stuff. And it was character building, but tough to make it to that next level. Absolutely. So good on you for engaging all of this and setting it all up. Obviously, you've got Adidas on board as a sponsor now, which is fantastic. Will you be able to send me a link for any girls and boys that are interested in having a look at the pathway and working out how they can get onto the Adidas Junior Sixes?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you'll see our page on Instagram, but as far as the website's concerned, we're probably a week away from the new website going up. Right now, it's a bit of a mess, but once that new website is up, I'll send you a link.
Perfect.
Our first event, which is already sold out, that's next week at Liverpool. But then the next event in Australia will be out at Linwood in February, which we just opened entries for yesterday. So Linwood and then the Australian are the next two, and I'll send you the link to that. And provided it tells you everything about the tour, like eligibility, what they're playing for, all of that. So I'll get that across.
Handicap limits and ages and so on. Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely fantastic. Super. And I applaud you on your creativity and your investment in the game and giving back. So, fantastic. Good on you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I love it. I mean, it's nice to be able to use my spare time to, outside of my commentary and all of that, to do something that I really, really enjoy. And it's been a little bit stressful because I'm busy all the time now, but I'm not good with an idle mind. So, to do all these things I love, I'm pretty lucky.
Fantastic. Good on you.
Thanks.
All right. Well, you're busy with your family and you're on holiday, so I will let you go. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for dragging Cam back to play Monash. We don't see him often enough, and it's great to see him and yourself play some fantastic shots around our golf course and show our members how it's done.
Thanks, Glenn. I'm sure he'll want revenge at some point soon.
And if you want a game up here without all the crowds, then please give us a shout, and I'll bring you up here and bring your full set.
If I can get a full set.
Yeah.
If someone gets me a 6-iron and a wedge, then yeah. Thanks, mate.
Thanks so much for your time, Ewan. You have a great holiday.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, Glenn. Cheers,
Take care. All the best. Let's have a look at Cam Davis' swing in slow motion. This face on with a 3-wood. It's a nice stable base, athletic setup, bit of a weak grip, just a 1-knuckle grip. And then he goes into a wide, slow takeaway, plenty of width, keeping the club well away from the body, pushes down into the ground and then up with the lead hip to a full release and a balanced finish on the front foot. If we zoom in here, we can see that that's a fairly weak grip. You can't see any of the second knuckle there. So Cam Davis does play quite a lot of fade shots with that weaker grip. And there we see that low takeaway, lots of width there. Doesn't quite reach parallel. But here's the power move. See how he just bumps forward before starting the downswing. So he's pushing into that lead foot, and that's what increases all of that lag. See that great angle that he's achieved there. Now obviously that's a little bit because we can't see it down the line. His wrists aren't quite that flexible, but that's the position that you want to get into. You're increasing lag in the downswing by pushing down into that lead foot and getting the lower half of the body to start the downswing. That's what helps him really create that power and club head speed. And lots of lag into the downswing and through impact because of that. And watch that lead hip just go straight up. He's pushing off the ground. He's hardly touching the ground here now because he's pushed off so much. And then a really aggressive release here. See how the right arm is crossed over the left, closing that club face aggressively. And then into that nice full high finish position. Lovely balance. Look how far around he's rotated. That belt buckle is pointing well off to the left-hand side. And that's just because of all of that momentum created in that downswing and that torque. A different shot here by Cam Davis, a sort of a 3/4 knockdown shot with a wedge or a 9-iron. He's set up left of the target. The breeze is off the left-hand side. But he's hitting a shot here that isn't going to get knocked around by the wind too much. It just has a soft fade on it. Comes into quite a shallow position for a tall player. It's a little on the flat side and really shallows the club nicely here. We can see that that club is lagging around behind him. Again, turning the hips through, that's leading the swing. See how much that club face has just stayed square through impact. He hasn't released it anywhere near as much as the 3-wood. That's a very difficult thing to do. Obviously playing a different shot here. Less speed, less spin, and a better flight with that cross breeze. And it's just showing a wonderful control of the speed of the shot and the club face. Really impressive. And we saw Cam play those 2 different swings on several occasions around the golf course, depending on what he wanted the ball to do. Very impressive. Thank you so much to Cam and Ewan for your time and for showing us some quality ball striking while you're out here at Monash. Okay, so maybe the putting wasn't quite up to scratch. Cam's pace was definitely off on the day. And we can learn from that. It's not about just pulling everything apart and thinking there's something really wrong just because you have a bad day on the greens. Quite interestingly, I'm sure Cam sorted it out. He went down to Melbourne the very next week and won the Sandbelt Invitational. And clearly he got his pace right on those quick greens down there. So if you're struggling with the pace of your greens, then try this drill here. I'm sure it'll sharpen up your putting. So the link to the Adidas Junior Sixes Tour, that's in the description box below. For all of you young boys and girls out there that are keen to take your game to the next level and play for those opportunities that are on offer. Thanks so much for watching. Are you the best golfer you can be?